This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by adamandeve.com. If you go to adamandeve.com and type in the promo code SPORT, you'll get 50% off just about any item in the store. I'm your host, Jesse Tapia, and to start off today's show, I want to talk about that crazy World Series game that happened, what was it, yesterday? Sunday night. And it was probably one of the best games I've ever watched, and I'm sure the majority of whoever watched that game can agree with me. It was just one of the best baseball games ever as far as the World Series goes, and probably it could be, it's just one of the best baseball games I was ever played. It was entertaining throughout, and it was just crazy. So just to get off with the basics, Joe Musgrove came away with the win. He was the Astros' last pitcher to come into the game, and then Kenley Jansen came away with the loss. Dallas Keuchel was the starter, and so was Clayton Kershaw, but they weren't really how you expect them to pitch. Excuse me. Yeah, they weren't really up to their A game. Keuchel gave up 3 runs in the first inning off of 2 hits, and then top of the 4th comes and he gives up another run, which makes it 4-0 for LA, and you're thinking, oh, wow, Kershaw, because what we saw from game 1, you're thinking, oh, Kershaw's not, he's just going to be on fire, and the Astros are done for. And it's not looking good for them. But once the bottom of the 4th comes, the old playoff Kershaw shows up, the one who couldn't get to the 8th inning in any of his previous 18 or 17 starts. 18 starts actually, because he didn't make it to the 8th inning in his last start. But yeah, he unraveled. He started off with a walk, and then Carlos Correa hits a double to left, and that brings the Astros down 3, and the Dodgers are up 4-1. And then Yuri Gurriel, as controversial as he's been this World Series, and there's been a lot of talk on whether he should have been suspended or whatnot, and personally I think the MLB made the right decision by not suspending him till the next season, because if they would have suspended him in the World Series, he would have just appealed, and that just would have delayed it, and he probably would have been able to play out the World Series anyways. So yeah, he comes up and he hits a homer to left, which brings in Altuve and Correa and himself, obviously, and that makes it 4-4 in the 4th. And then top of the 5th comes, and next thing you know, Cody Bellinger hits a home run to right, and Corey Seager and Justin Turner score along with him, and that makes it 7-4. And before I get into the rest, let me finish the rest, and I'll talk about the baseballs. And then bottom of the 5th comes, and what do you know? Another home run. Altuve hits a home run to center. Springer and Bregman score, which makes it 7-7. Then the top of the 7th comes up, and George Springer, this is really where he messed up, and you're thinking, oh, wow, dude, this is what's going to cost the Astros the game. Cody Bellinger hits a shot to center, and instead of playing the ball in front of him, because there was a man on first, Kike Hernandez was on first, actually, and there was one out, I believe, at the time, and George Springer goes out, and he lays out to try and make a diving play, and the ball gets past him, which brings in Hernandez, and Bellinger gets all the way to third. That play, I was just thinking, man, you cannot make that play at that time of the game. There's one out, just take the hit, and there's only going to be a man on first and second if he fields it cleanly. And there was no reason to dive for that ball. You want to be the hero and whatnot, but it's the World Series. That's the thing. You can't be the hero in the World Series. You just need to do your job, and that's exactly what you need to do. Just do your job and don't do too much. And he tried doing too much, and it cost him a run in that inning. So after the top of the 7th, it was 8-7 LA. And then that's when the bottom of the 7th comes in. And man, this was just a roller coaster of an inning. George Springer comes up after making that bad play, and boom, he hits a shot to left field over the little train track thing that they have in left. And he hit it in the highest point. It was just a crazy crushed the ball. And then Altuve comes up, doubles the center. Alex Bregman scores, so that makes it 9-8. And then Carlos Correa, that makes it 9-8. Houston's winning, actually, yeah. And then Carlos Correa comes up and he hits a home run, which scores Altuve, and that makes it 11-8 Houston. And then you're thinking, oh, the Houston fans are going crazy. The Dodgers don't know what to do right now. It's just it's not looking good for LA now. It's just the momentum had switched big time. And then top of the 8th comes, and Corey Seager hits a double to left. Hits a double to left. Jock Peterson scores, and that makes it 11-9 Houston still. And then the bottom of the 8th comes, and then McCann hits a homer to right, and then it makes it 12-9. And you're thinking, okay, yeah, you know what? This is finally it. Astros are going to pull it out. It's not looking good for the Dodgers once again. And then the top of the 9th comes. And like I said, this is where the game was crazy throughout, but this is where the game becomes insane. Twitter was going crazy. I was reading everyone's tweets and all that stuff, and just everyone was just losing their mind over the way this game was going. So yeah, the top of the 9th comes, and Puig was only 2 for 16, I believe, or around there. So he hasn't really been having a good World Series so far, but in baseball, when you're not playing too well, all that means is you're due. And that's exactly what it was. Puig comes up, hits a homer to left. Cody Bellinger scores along with that homer, and that makes it 12-11 Houston still. And then Chris Taylor comes up. I believe there was 2 outs too with when he was coming up, and he hits a single to center. And Austin Barnes scores, which makes it 12-12. And after that, you're thinking, man, this game is never gonna end. It's one of those games you actually last so long you don't want it to end because of how entertaining it was. It was just one of the best games I've ever watched in my life. So yeah, bottom of the 10th comes, and then, or actually, let me go bottom of the 9th. Bottom of the 9th, Houston isn't able to put up any runs, so we go to extras. Top of the 10th, Dodgers don't score, and then the bottom of the 10th comes, and you're thinking the relievers in the bottom of the 9th and then the 10th inning they were pitching pretty well and whatnot. So you're thinking, man, it's going to be one of those games that last 14 innings, but no, obviously not with the way these baseballs have been being hit. Alex Bregman comes up, hits a single to center, and that walks it off with Derek Fisher scoring, and Houston won the game 13-12, and now they're up 3-2 in the series. So, Game 6, they're going back to LA, and they got Justin Verlander going for them. So it's going to be Houston's in a really good spot right now, but let's talk about those baseballs right now. I mean, it's incredible how these players have been hitting the ball out so much. It's been crazy. I mean, you've never seen anything like this, literally. I think it was 22 home runs have been hit this series, and that's the most ever in the World Series. So obviously there is something wrong with the baseballs, but I mean, it's good for ratings. Yesterday they beat out Sunday Night Football, and baseball never does that. The NFL basically owns Sunday, so you're really not gonna see any MLB, NBA, or anything like that take over. But nope, this World Series game beat Sunday Night Football in ratings, and it was way better than the Sunday night game too, to be honest. But yeah, this game was amazing, and like I said, it was just these. I want to start with the starting pitchers. Dallas Keuchel he's been disappointing so far in this World Series. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat. He's been really disappointing. In the first game, he only gave up 3 runs, but I mean, he gave up those runs based off of leaving pitches up. And as the ace of your, I mean, it could be argued that Verlander has been the ace of the Astros so far, but Keuchel has been there longer, and he's been their ace since he's been there. And you can't just be leaving pitches up like that. And after the first inning, he gave up 3 runs, and you're just, I guess, the best pitcher on the team, you just can't be doing that. They rely on you when you're up against Kershaw. So you got to keep the game close for them, and he just hasn't been doing well at all really so far. And then Kershaw did well up until the 4th inning, and he imploded. He got rattled, it looked like. Excuse me, but yeah, he was rattled. You could tell after he gave up the walk, and he just wasn't really reaching the strike zone or keeping the ball down. And like after that, that's when the Astros were able to tie it up, and I think Kershaw's given up 8 home runs so far this postseason, and I believe Fox put out a graphic that said that was the most a pitcher has ever given up in one postseason. So, I mean, even with Game 1, how he pitched so well, I mean, Kershaw still hasn't been that guy that we see in the regular season constantly dominating other teams. I like to call him the Peyton Manning of baseball, just without the rings, actually. During the regular season, he's lights out. He's breaking all the records, striking everyone out. He's unhittable. But once the playoffs come, he just can't get it done. I don't know what it is, if the pressure's too high or, like I said, it's just the baseballs or something, because he's just not as dominant for some reason in the postseason. He's a good pitcher. He's one of the best in the league. Let me say this. Clayton Kershaw is one of the best pitchers in the league, no matter how he does in the postseason. But, I mean, you want to see that success replicated from the regular season to the postseason. And the Dodgers haven't won the World Series since 1989. So, I mean, the fans, they deserve this. Well, yeah, Houston fans deserve World Series also, too. But Dodger fans have been waiting for so long. And it's just, they've had good teams constantly over the years. And they just can't get it done for some reason. And Kershaw is just not helping the case. And then I believe it was, yeah, they brought in Morrow, I think, and that was in the I think it was the 7th inning, I believe, when the Astros tied up the game and took the lead. Yeah, when they took the lead, actually 11-8, I believe Morrow was pitching, and that guy he could not throw it. Well, when he did throw a strike, it was just destroyed the ball every time. He just couldn't get any outs or anything like that. He was rattled after the home run he gave up in the base hits. He had nothing in him. Joe Buck was talking about how he was just gassed because I believe that was the 3rd straight game he's pitched, and you can't really. Dave Roberts, he's been kind of iffy with this whole bullpen. I haven't really agreed with how he's been running it and bringing pitchers out, and I feel like that's starting to come and backfire with him because yesterday they used all their pitchers, and then yeah, they got a day of rest now, and they go back to play Game 6 on Tuesday. But, I mean, you can't be using all of your arms, especially you can't use a guy 3 days in a row. I mean, I understand that circumstances change and whatnot, but, I mean, the guy came out there, and he was just getting shelled. He was shook. It was just, there was nothing he could do. He just went out there, threw the ball, and the Astros were just raking it constantly. You could tell, too, in Morrow's eyes, he was just, he knew he was done right there. So then after that, like I said, the game just went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The Astros took the lead. Dodgers came back, and then, like I said, in the bottom of the 10th, they ended up walking off and winning the game 13-12. And like I said, it was just one of the best baseball games I've ever watched. And this World Series is one of the best World Series of all time. These are the 2 best teams by far in the league. And when you get that, you're just going to get great. I don't know if I want to call it great baseball because these pitchers really haven't been doing well in this whole World Series, but it's entertaining baseball. It's just fun. As a fan, I mean, you're drawing in the casual fans also with this. I mean, you know how baseball has been. People want to see home runs, and me personally, actually, I love these pitching duels, and I'd rather see 1-0, 2-1 games, but I know I'm in the minority right there. But the majority of fans, they want to see these home runs and all that stuff in high-scoring games, and that's what they're getting so far. And I feel like this is really good for the MLB as far as how when next year comes, you're probably gonna be drawing in bigger ratings because of how all these home runs. I mean, when Puig hit his home run, the pitcher, I can't remember who was pitching, but he threw it. He painted the corner, and Puig he swung barely one-armed. And he didn't even look like he really got into it. And that ball sailed to left. He pulled the pitch outside in the corner, and that ball was just crushed to left field. So, I mean, these hitters are just on top of it. Or, like I said, there's been talk about the baseballs, but I'm not really sure what it means or whatnot. I mean, both teams have complained. But, like I said, this might be good for baseball and the ratings. And, of course, like I said earlier, they did beat Sunday Night Football, and that's a rarity. That never happens. So, this is good for baseball. So, yeah, that's how Game 5 went, and Game 6, it's going to be tough for LA, only because Justin Verlander is pitching, but they have the home field advantage in Game 6, so we'll see how that goes. This World Series has been nothing short of great. It's been just entertaining throughout. I've been watching it at home, and like yesterday, I was watching it at home, and I had to get back to Sacramento so I could do my show notes and whatnot, but I couldn't leave my other house because I needed to finish watching this game. It was just, you couldn't leave or miss anything. It was just incredible, this game. But yeah, as far as everything else goes, Game 6, I think my pick is the Astros. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Astros for Game 6. The Dodgers, they've been playing well. It's probably going to, I think, I'm really on the fence of whether it's going to be one of those high-scoring games again or if Verlander is just going to shut him down because, I mean, Verlander's been lights out for the Astros so far. I think his first 9 starts, he ended up 9-0, not losing a game. So he's been really good so far, and I think Verlander's going to pitch well for Game 6. Yeah, he's going to close it out for them, and I really think that the Astros are going to win the World Series this year, and it's going to be a heartbreaker for Dodgers fans once again. But like I said, Dodgers, they're always going to have a good team because of their payroll. So, I mean, don't sleep on the Dodgers winning one within the next few years, or even maybe they might surprise me, and they might be Verlander. Because if this game goes to Game 7, then I think that LA will pull it out, mainly because Game 7 at home, there's nothing like it for a team, and those Dodger fans, they're good fans, so they'll keep the team up. But yeah, like I said, my pick for Game 6 is going to be Houston because of Verlander, but if the Dodgers seem to pull that one out, then I like them in Game 7, but we'll see. So that's going to finish it up for the first segment. Please listen to these next messages, and we'll be right back. Hey, are you looking to spice things up in the bedroom? Have you been fantasizing about surprising your lover with an adventurous new toy adult movie? Well, AdamandEve.com has an offer that you're not going to be able to resist. If you go to AdamandEve.com, and for a limited time only, you'll get 50% off just about any item. But that's not all they're offering. Oh no. When you select that one item at 50% off, you're also going to get 3 free adult DVDs, just in case you need a little inspiration. Plus a free extra gift so sensual, I can't even mention it on this podcast. And to top it all off, they're going to throw in free shipping, and we all know how we love that free shipping. And no, they're not kidding about any of this. So go to adamandeve.com today for this special offer. You're going to get 50% off one item when you type in the promo code SPORT. That's SPORT, SPORT. When you do that, like I said, you're going to get 3 free DVDs, a free extra gift, and that free shipping. You're going to use the offer code SPORT, S-P-O-R-T, at adamandeve.com. Again, that's S-P-O-R-T, SPORT, at adamandeve.com. Welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia, and for this next segment, we're going to talk a little bit of college football from this past weekend. So I know the big game this weekend was Penn State and Ohio State, and Ohio State, it was a great game. Ohio State managed to pull it out 39-38. Penn State was dominating in the first half and for a little bit of the second half, but Ohio State just kept fighting, and eventually they came back. Ohio State hasn't really been, I guess Ohio State fans haven't really been too happy with JT Barrett, but he had a good game this past Saturday, finishing 33 of 39 with his completions, and then 328 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, and I believe he finished the game with 16 straight completions, and he also had 95 rush yards. So this was probably his best game of the season, and Ohio State needed that from him if they were going to beat a solid team with Penn State, because Penn State has a great defense. Their offense is really just Saquon Barkley, but their defense is really well put together, and they play well. They don't really do too much. They fill their gaps and just do their jobs, and I think that's why they play so well. But yeah, let's get a little bit into the game. Penn State was up 28-10 once the first half finished, and actually in the opening kickoff return, Saquon Barkley took it back all the way for a touchdown. You're thinking, man, he's gonna have that big Heisman game. He's just gonna go off today. He's been talked about as being one of the better running back prospects in a while, better than I've seen Matt Miller of Bleacher Report actually say that he's a better prospect than Ezekiel Elliott, and Ezekiel Elliott is just destroying the NFL right now also. And we'll actually get a little bit into talk about him a little bit later in the show, but yeah, Saquon Barkley, he's going to be a top 5 pick for sure. There's no doubt. And like I said, after the kickoff return, everyone's thinking, here's his Heisman game, and this is what's going to lock him up for it. So yeah, let's get a little bit more into the game. So yeah, Penn State was up 28-10 after the first half. Or actually, they finished the first half 28-17. And then once the second half came, they went up 35-20. And like I said, just Ohio State was just fighting back constantly. And their defense made stops when it mattered. JT Barrett threw the game-winning touchdown with 1:48 left. And that put him up 39-38, and then Penn State comes back, and you're thinking, are they going to be able to do it? Are they going to be able to do it? But no, they just 4 plays, turnover on downs, and boom, Ohio State wins. And Penn State's chances of making the playoff, they took a big hit, I think, because a game like this would have solidified them, even if they would have maybe lost the game after that, because Ohio State is no pushover. Urban Meyer, he's won a few national championships, and he's a great coach, and he always has his teams ready to play. So I think Penn State really needed this game, but like I said, they couldn't pull it out. They couldn't finish, and Saquon Barkley, he finished the game with 21 carries, 44 yards, a touchdown, and that kick return touchdown that I talked about earlier. So it wasn't really that big of a game from him. Ohio State they figure out a way to stop him, and once they stopped him, like I said, that's their entire offense, Penn State. So you got to really rely on the defense, and the defense really couldn't stop JT Barrett at all. He had his best game of the year, and now I believe Penn State is ranked 7th, and Ohio State moved up a couple of spots, so they have a chance of making the playoff. But other than that, it was a really good game, and it was really entertaining. It was probably everything the fans could have wanted. I mean, college football always has those come from behind wins. College football is a weird sport because whenever a team is up by 20 or 25 or anything like that, you can't really expect that team to pull it out because for some reason, the opposing team always has a chance to come back. And I know, obviously everyone has a chance to come back, but in college football, I feel like we see it a lot more than any other sport. There's always comebacks, and I guess, yeah, that's what makes it so exciting. It's just you never know who's going to come out with the win no matter what the score is. So yeah, now that we talked about that, I want to get into some upsets of the week. Iowa State beat number 4 TCU, and TCU is no longer undefeated. Iowa State beat them 14-7, and Iowa State is always that team that has that yearly upset. You never know when it's going to come, but you know it's going to happen. Iowa State and Kansas State, those are the two teams I feel that, you know what, they don't have the strongest. They have good programs, but they're not top 5 programs or anything like that, but you know what? They're always going to beat a top team. Iowa State already beat Oklahoma earlier in the year, and then they come back now, and then they beat TCU 14-7. So yeah, Iowa State is always that team where you really don't want them on your schedule late in the season because you know they're always going to play you hard, and they always have a chance to come out with it. Northwestern beat Michigan State 39-31, and Northwestern that's starting to become a solid football program. They've never really been like a big sports school or anything like that, but their football program is starting to come up, and they're starting to pick up some pretty nice wins. So they're a solid team going forward. And then Houston beat University of Southern Florida 28-24. Arizona beat number 14 Washington State 58-37, and Arizona is going to be a good team next year, I believe, also because they instituted a new quarterback, and he's running that old Rich Rodriguez offense that they used to run at West Virginia when they had Pat White. And wow, that's a name drop right there, Pat White. But yeah, the quarterback's looking really well, and I would look out for Arizona next season. And then, like I said, talked about earlier, Ohio State beat Penn State 39-38, and as far as that game goes, I know Saquon Barkley didn't have the best game. He went 21 carries, 44 yards, but that's not going to affect his draft stock at all. Everyone knows what he is, and he's like a Leonard Fournette. He could not play a game for the rest of the season, and we already know he's going top 5. So, yeah, it didn't really do much to hurt his draft stock, and he's still probably the front runner for the Heisman. So, I like his chances for the Heisman this year. And as for remaining undefeated teams, the remaining undefeated teams are Alabama, Georgia, Miami, and Wisconsin. I think Bama is going to finish their season undefeated up until the playoff. I'm not saying that they're going to lose in the playoff. I'm just saying that I expect them to win out and then win the SEC championship game. Georgia, I expect them to win out in the rest of their division, but I feel like they're going to meet Bama in the SEC championship, and that's when they'll get their first loss. And Miami and Wisconsin, those are undefeated teams, but people are pretty iffy about them because Miami, they're pulling out wins, but they're not doing it like as a top team would in college football. They're out here winning like close games, and their last 4 games of the season is Virginia Tech, who is ranked, Notre Dame, Virginia, and Pitt. I feel like they're gonna drop a game, I feel, against to either Virginia Tech or Notre Dame. Notre Dame they've been kind of iffy the last few years, but Brian Kelly has them playing well this year, and I think if Miami's going to lose a game, I think it's going to be Notre Dame. I think they can pull it out against Virginia Tech, but yeah, I think Notre Dame is going to hand them their first loss. And as for Wisconsin, they have Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, and then Minnesota. I think they're going to be able to beat all of those teams, and I think they're going to be sort of like a Georgia type of team. They're not going to take their first loss until their championship game in the Big Ten. As for Georgia, their last 4 games against South Carolina, Auburn, which is going to be a tough one for them, but I think they can pull it out, Kentucky, and then Georgia Tech. Like I said, I expect Georgia to win out, and then once the SEC championship comes and they see Bama, they've had a really good season, but it's just Bama is just in that tier by himself. Like there's no one on Bama's level right now. It's like I don't know what it is about Alabama. Nick Saban is just a college football, just genius. He always has his teams ready. And yeah, there's no one on Bama's level right now. And as for Bama, they have LSU this upcoming week, Mississippi State, Mercer, and then Auburn. We all know that's the big game of the season. So I don't expect them to lose those games, and I don't expect them to lose an SEC championship. So I expect them to be undefeated up until the playoff. Georgia, even if they do lose in the SEC championship game, I think that if they were able to stay undefeated up until then, they still have a good chance of making the playoff. And as for Wisconsin and Miami, I mean, if they went out too, then, I mean, you can't really keep out a team out of a Power 5 conference that's undefeated out of the playoff. So if they win out, I think those could be the top 4 teams. But like I said, I expect Miami to drop a game to either Virginia Tech or Notre Dame, most likely Notre Dame. And then I expect Wisconsin, I think they'll drop a game in the Big Ten championship game, whether they're playing Ohio State or Penn State. I think they'll drop it. They haven't really had the toughest schedule, but, I mean, you can only play who's in front of you. So they've done well to pull out the wins. And as for Penn State, after what they go from now and whatnot, they play Michigan State next, and then Ohio State has Iowa next. So those teams, if they want a chance to win out and make the playoff, they're going to have to, like I said, win out, and we'll see how it goes from there. But other than that, it's been a pretty good week. College football, you expect to see more upsets coming up. And as for everything else, I mean, as far as draft stock goes or anything like that, I believe Sam Darnold, I think he's going to stay another year because he hasn't really had the best year so far. I hope he doesn't really end up like Jake Locker, where he probably should have came out a year earlier just because he would have been drafted really high, but he doesn't. Stays a year and his draft stock falls, and then that's the last we ever heard of him because he didn't really have that good of an NFL year. So yeah, as far as Sam Darnold, that's a tongue twister. As far as Sam Darnold goes, hopefully he's making the right decision and he does well next year so that doesn't hurt his draft stock. And like I said, for Saquon Barkley, he's going top 5 for sure. Probably going to end up with 49ers, honestly, unless they do not get Kirk Cousins, but that's for a different show. And as for these other quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson and Josh Rosen, he's going to go top 10, I believe. And I'm not really sure why scouts and draft writers are really sleeping on Lamar Jackson. I don't get it. He's got a good arm, and I think he's a better Michael Vick, honestly. He's got a stronger arm than Michael Vick, and he's able to make explosive plays like Michael Vick. So whatever team drafts him, I believe they're going to be really lucky. He might end up with a team in the 20s or mid-teens in the draft, and those teams right there, those are teams that they need a quarterback if they're drafting one right there, and that's all they need. They're ready to get going. So yeah, as far as Lamar Jackson goes, I expect he's gonna slip in the draft, but I don't really agree with it. But yeah, whatever team he falls to, they're gonna be a lucky team because he's gonna be an explosive player in the NFL. So yeah, watch out for him. And yeah, we're just gonna see how this college football season plays out. You never know when it comes to college football. Every team has a chance, and yeah, just pretty much you never know. So it's gonna finish it up for the the second segment, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. For this segment, we're going to go over NFL scores and just talk about any news going around in the NFL right now. So to start off, Vikings and Browns played in London. Vikings came away with a W with the win in that one, 33-16. Case Keenum had 288 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Jerick McKinnon, 14 carries, 50 yards, 1 touchdown. Adam Thielen, 5 receptions, 98 yards, and a touchdown. And the Browns really didn't play too well, but I mean, Deshaun Kaiser didn't get benched, so I mean, that's a start for them. Usually Hugh Jackson lately has just been switching in and out, just honestly, it's kind of baffling. But yeah, this week he finally stuck with one quarterback, and hopefully he does that for the rest of the season, because I think Deshaun Kaiser is going to be a good quarterback. He just needs weapons around him. As for Oakland at Buffalo, Oakland came away with the loss. Buffalo won 34-14. Raiders have been really disappointing this season. Derek Carr finished with 313 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Tyrod Taylor had 165 yards passing, 1 touchdown. To former Raider Andre Holmes, who finished with 3 receptions, 51 yards, and like I said, that 1 touchdown. LaShawn McCoy had a big game, 27 carries, 151 yards, and a touchdown, and the Buffalo defense came away with a fumble and returned that back for a touchdown. Buffalo really dominated from start to finish, and Oakland has just not looked how we expected them to be this season. Indianapolis at Cincinnati. Indianapolis lost to Cincinnati 24-23. Jacoby Brissett had a pretty decent game, 2 touchdowns, but he did have an interception on the last drive when he was trying to bring him back for the win. Andy Dalton, he hasn't really been too solid this season, but he had 243 yards, 2 touchdowns. One of them was the AJ Green, and we'll see how Cincinnati goes from here. I mean, usually they've been a pretty decent team competing for the wild card and sometimes for the division, but this season Marvin Lewis I'm not sure if they're tired of him or it's just one of those years, but yeah, we'll see. As far as the Chargers and Patriots go, Chargers lost to the Patriots 21-13. Tom Brady finished with 333 yards, 1 touchdown. Melvin Gordon had 132 yards and 1 touchdown. And other than his big run in the game, I believe it was like an 83-yard or 77-yard. It was around there, one of those big runs. And the Patriots defense, they did well to stop him that game. They haven't really done too well in the beginning of the season. We all expected them to be a really good defense with Stephon Gilmore and Malcolm Butler in that D-line, but they just really haven't played to expectations. But as of the last couple of games, I think they have one of the best scoring defenses, giving up only about 14 points the last 2 games. So we'll see. Looks like they're finally finding their groove. So we'll see going from here. Chicago lost to New Orleans 20-12. Mark Ingram had a touchdown, but he didn't really have all that good of a game because he fumbled twice, and that could have cost him. And just Chicago's offense couldn't capitalize. And Mitch Trubisky, the Bears are really easing him into there. He's not really throwing the ball much. Jordan Howard is getting the ball a lot, averaging around 25 to 30 carries a game with Trubisky in. But Trubisky finished with 164 yards and an interception. And don't let the stats really fool you. I know that they're low, but he does well to put the ball in the right place and whatnot. He makes good throws, so I feel like once they start throwing the ball a lot more, the stats will go up. But Trubisky's going to be a good quarterback. And sad thing, actually, from that game, Zach Miller dislocated his knee, and I saw Adam Schefter tweeted earlier this morning, Monday morning, that surgeons are trying their hardest to fix his knee so that way they don't have to amputate his lower leg. So hopefully he comes out of that okay, and hopefully, yeah, like I said, just you gotta hope that he comes out okay. You never want to see that to a player, and he's never really got into any trouble or anything like that. He just put his head down and went to work, so you never want to see that. But yeah, hopefully he comes out okay. As for Atlanta and the New York Jets, Atlanta came away with the win 25-20. Atlanta still, they came away with the win, but they still haven't looked like that team we saw last year. I don't know what it is. Julio Jones had an okay game, but he's not the Julio Jones of the last few seasons for some reason. I'm not sure if it has to do with Steve Sarkisian or I'm not sure actually, because it's kind of odd. Devontae Freeman, he's not having the year he's been having before. He's just, I don't know. It's just something weird with that offense. But anyways, Matt Ryan finished with 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Josh McCown 257 yards and 2 touchdowns also. Josh McCown he's been a journeyman quarterback, but he does the job well, so that's why he's still in the league. As for San Francisco and Philadelphia, San Francisco took the loss in that one, 33-10. Carson Wentz, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And Carson Wentz, he did throw an interception, but he didn't do anything to hurt his MVP case. I think he is the early favorite for MVP, and as long as they keep winning and he keeps playing well, I don't see no reason as to why he won't win it this season, so we'll see about that. San Francisco is now 0-8, and that's the worst start in their history. And San Francisco, they're a bad team, but they're a bad team because of their offense. Their defense keeps them in games. I know the game was 33-10, but the defense is on the field constantly, and the offense can't get anything going. So, this is pretty much a throwaway year for them. You're going to see, I'm sure, Kyle Shanahan is seeing, who am I going to keep on this offense, who's working, who's not, and yeah, they just got to, if they pick up Kirk Cousins next year and are able to draft Saquon Barkley, then they'll be a pretty good, decent team next season, because the defense is playing well. It's just the offense just doesn't stay on the field long enough to help the defense. But yeah, like I said, 0-8, worst start in history for them. As for Carolina and Tampa Bay, this was probably the worst game of the week, and I'm being generous as far as just describing it as the worst, because it was a 17-3 game. Cam Newton, 154 yards passing, a touchdown, and an interception. He hasn't done much this season. He hasn't really been he had that one good Super Bowl. That year they went to the Super Bowl, he had that one good season, but other than that, he's been an average quarterback, if we're being real here. But yeah, so we'll see about him. We all know how he has his indifference with the media, so we'll see. But Dallas and Washington, Ezekiel Elliott went off for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns that one. Dallas came away with the win, 33-19. Like I said, Zeke, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins, 263 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. And this has been an ongoing thing for Dez Bryant. He struggles whenever he plays top-tier quarterbacks. I know Josh Norman wasn't covering him the entire game, but for some reason, whenever Dez Bryant goes against the top-tier cornerback, he just does not have that good of a game. So you got to look out for that. I mean, he's not a bad receiver. He's a good receiver, I think, but he's just got to step up his game once he's going against these top guys, because, I mean, you can't really get no respect if you're not consistent against everyone. So we'll see about that. But yeah, and as far as the Steelers and Lions game went, that was just a defensive game right there. Juju Smith-Schuster actually had a real solid game, and I don't expect Martavius Bryant really to come back and take his spot back, because, I mean, on the last podcast, I believe it was the football one, the last sports one, actually, I predicted that Juju Smith-Schuster would have a big game because he's an explosive player. He hasn't really gotten many targets, but when he does get the ball, he does well with it. He produces. He's got, I think, 4 touchdowns so far this season. I think that's either tied for 6th. It's top 10. I know that for sure, but it's tied for 6th or tied for 8th. But yeah, he had a really good game. Ben Roethlisberger, he missed a couple of touchdowns in the corner of the end zone. I think Eli Rogers dropped the first one, and I think it was the tight end who dropped the second, but I can't remember exactly which one it was. It wasn't Jesse James. So, but yeah, other than that, the Steelers did well. In Detroit, I mean, Matt Stafford was throwing all over them. Excuse me. Yeah, Matt Stafford was throwing all over them, and it's just he couldn't get into the end zone. That Steelers defense was holding them down, and yeah, I think it was one of the last drives of the game. Detroit was down near the goal line, and it was a third and goal, I think. Yeah, I think it was 3rd and goal, and actually it was 3rd and 5. 3rd and 5, and Jim Caldwell calls for a run play, and I'm just thinking, what are we doing here? Stafford's your best player. Give him the ball. Let him make the play. And Theoretic is the one who got the ball. He got stuffed, and then 4th down comes, and Stafford almost throws a pick to Ryan Shazier, and Shazier drops it, but that was the end of the game right there. And as far as everything else goes, just Detroit could not get into the end zone. But they're 3-4 now. Pittsburgh's 6-2, and I'm sure the Steelers are going to pull away with that division. I don't see the Ravens coming back, and the Bengals for sure are not going to challenge for that division. So yeah, the Steelers come out 5-2, or actually 6-2, excuse me. Le'Veon Bell finished with 25 carries, 76 yards, a touchdown. He had a rare fumble in that one. And for specific stats, Juju Smith-Schuster finished with 7 catches, 193 receiving yards. He had a touchdown in the game. That was 97 yards. He just blew past the defense. They could not catch him at all. Antonio Brown had it's a pretty good game for any other receiver, but for him, it's an okay game. 5 receptions, 70 yards. And yeah, the Steelers came out with that one 20-15, and like I said, they're 6-2. Detroit is 3-4. I think that Detroit's division is going to come down. I think Minnesota's going to come away with it. I'm not too high on Green Bay anymore, just because of Brent Hundley, Devontae Adams, and Jordy Nelson. You've seen that their play has dipped a little bit since Aaron Rodgers went down. So I like Minnesota in that division. And as far as Pittsburgh goes in the NFC or AFC North, they'll end up winning that division too, because I don't think the Ravens are really going to come back. They might be a wild card team, but that division belongs to Pittsburgh right now. And as for Monday goes, Ezekiel Elliott is having his hearing today, and the judge is going to decide whether or not to suspend him. But also, excuse me. But also, he has an opportunity to where if they rule against him, he can appeal it and keep playing. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think that every time that he appeals and that's done, and then they go back to court, there's just going to be constant appeals and whatnot. So I feel like Ezekiel Elliott is going to play for the rest of the season, and his suspension won't come till next year. It's going to be a Tom Brady type of thing. And Dallas really, they need him. They can't afford to lose him. Their running backs behind him, they're decent running backs, but they're not Ezekiel Elliott. And as far as Dak Prescott goes, he's a good quarterback, but he needs a guy like Zeke to take the pressure off of him, because once if Zeke were to get suspended and be out for these 6 games, Alfred Morris, Darren McFadden, and no one really talks about him, but Rod Smith, he's a pretty good running back too. They're not going to be putting up the kind of numbers that Zeke puts up, even with the offensive line being so great. So defenses are just going to prepare for Dak Prescott and pretty much dare the Cowboys to run. And I feel like that's just going to hurt them big time, because the Dallas is a good team right now. I believe they're 4-3. Yeah, they should be 4-3, and I don't really see them getting challenging for the division with Philly playing so well, unless somehow Philly just falls off the face of the earth. So yeah, Dallas really needs Zeke if they're going to compete for a playoff spot, and it'd be a really huge blow if they weren't able to keep him for the rest of the season. But like I said, my thought is that he's going to play the rest of the season. He's just going to appeal the next ruling, and Dallas is going to do well if they have him, and if they don't, then they're going to struggle, I believe. But yeah. So, another thing I want to talk about is Mike Zimmer's, after the game, said that Case Keenum has done really well to play for them and stuff like that since Bradford's been hurt and Bridgewater has been out. But I think once Bridgewater is ready to go, I think Zimmer's going to throw him back out there. Bridgewater is, I think personally, he's better than Keenum and Bradford, and I feel like once he comes back, you're going to see Stephon Diggs have even better games. He's been okay this season, but I feel like once Bridgewater comes back, you're going to see Stephon Diggs break out a little bit more. And I feel like Minnesota, they're not a top tier team, but they're a team that you need to keep your eye on. I think they can pull out a playoff game, win a playoff game, or maybe even 2. But because that defense is always going to keep them in it, and if Teddy Bridgewater comes back and he just plays well, then they're going to be fine, because Jerick McKinnon, he came in once Dalvin Cook came out with his ACL injury, and McKinnon he's been versatile. If you need him to catch it out the backfield, he can do that. He'll get you yards, and he does well to run the ball. This past weekend, like I said, he had 14 carries for 51 yards, I believe, and he finished with a touchdown. But Cleveland's rush defense has been pretty good this season, so I really don't want to look too much into that. So yeah, Minnesota is a team to watch for. They're going to surprise a few people. So yeah, as far as everything else goes, it was a pretty exciting week in the NFL. Buffalo is also a team to watch out for. That defense is always going to keep them in the game, and Tyrod Taylor doesn't really make too many mistakes. So if your quarterback's not making mistakes and throwing interceptions and all that, you're always going to be in the game, and they know that their recipe for success is get the ball to LaShawn McCoy, and then after that, let Tyrod Taylor make a few plays, but put the offense on McCoy's shoulders, and they're going to win games. They're 5-2, half a game back New England, and I think Bills fans are going to be put out of their misery. I like the Bills, and I think that they're going to make the playoffs this season. And also, I forgot to mention earlier, the best game of the weekend so far. It was Houston at Seattle. Houston came away with that one, or Houston lost that one actually, 41-38, and that game was a true shootout. Deshaun Watson finished with 402 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 67 yards rushing. DeAndre Hopkins had 224 yards receiving and a touchdown. And Russell Wilson, he had his big game of the year, 452 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. And Jimmy Graham caught the game-winning touchdown at the end with, I believe, around 20 seconds left. And Houston they played really poorly in that last play. They left Jimmy Graham wide open, and I'm not sure if it was a safety, linebacker, or whoever that missed their zone assignment. But yeah, Jimmy Graham was wide open in the end zone by himself, and Seattle was able to pull that one away. And Seattle is always a team that starts out the season so-so, but once it comes time to where it's time to start winning games or whatnot. They look like Super Bowl contenders again. And as far as the Deshaun Watson goes, that kid is going to be a top 10 quarterback going. Actually, probably next year he could be a top 10 quarterback. Richard Sherman came out Monday morning and said that Deshaun Watson is going to be a top 5 quarterback next year, in the same tier as Rodgers and Brady. And you know what? That's a possibility too. Watson has come out. Yeah, he threw 3 interceptions on Sunday, but I mean, he kept the team in the game, and he was battling Russell Wilson. It was literally back and forth, touchdown after touchdown. These defenses really couldn't stop him. So we'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, I like Deshaun Watson. He's a good Rookie of the Year candidate, offensive Rookie of the Year candidate, and he's probably going to be competing with Kareem Hunt for that award, but we'll see how it goes. Deshaun Watson, though, Houston's got their quarterback finally. I still don't get why they started Tom Savage week 1, but yeah, Deshaun Watson is going to be a great quarterback going forward, and I'm sure DeAndre Hopkins is happy about that. He's finally got a decent quarterback. So that's going to wrap it up for this third segment, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
The GSMC Sports Podcast. Now we're going to get into some NBA action and talk about the games that went on this past Sunday and just give a little bit of talk about some whatever's going on in the league. So to start off, Bucks played in Atlanta on Sunday. They beat the Hawks 117-106. Giannis Antetokounmpo, that's a tongue twister right there. He finished with 33 points and 11 rebounds. Chris Middleton had 27 points. And I believe he finished around 8 assists. And next game, Spurs went to Indiana, faced off with the Pacers, and the Pacers actually came away with the win in this one, 97-94. Victor Oladipo finished with 23 points. He hit the game-winning 3, and Sabonis finished with 22 points. And those two right there have been playing really well for Indiana. Those are the two that came in the Paul George trade, and Sabonis said, after the game, he said that we don't want to just be known as the guys who were in the Paul George trade. They're trying to help produce, and that's exactly what they're doing. Victor Oladipo is playing out of his mind right now. I think he's averaging around 25 points a game right now. And this really, I know it's surprising because it's Victor Oladipo, but it kind of shouldn't be because his usage rate last year was pretty low since he was playing with Russell Westbrook. But now that he's able to have the ball a lot more and just do more with it, he's been on fire so far, and he's really been playing really well for the Pacers. And like I said, and Miles Turner has also been out with a concussion, so I mean they're playing well without him, and once he gets back they can only get better. So the Pacers might be a team that no one really expected to, but they could be a team that could fight for that 8th seed or 7th seed. They'll be there at the end, I think, so that's going to be an interesting team to watch. Denver went to Brooklyn and beat them 124-111. Jamal Murray finished with 26 points. Nikola Jokic finished with 21 points, 14 rebounds. He's a really exciting player to watch, and that's going to be a player that Denver's going to build their franchise around. And also Jamal Murray and Gary Harris, so they're pretty set. They're a good young team that's set up. So I like them going forward. Orlando lost to the Hornets this week, 120-113. Kemba Walker had a really good game, finished with 34 points and 10 assists. Aaron Gordon, I believe, had 18 points, and he also had actually a really nice block on Malik Monk. Malik Monk tried, I don't know why he did this, but he tried throwing off the backboard alley-oop to himself, and Aaron Gordon just swatted him, and it was just a great play by Gordon. The Magic are their team that they're surprising a lot so far, because last year they really weren't all that good of a team, but this year they're near the top. I believe they're 4-2 now. They're with Boston And actually Detroit, yeah, they're with Detroit, Boston near the top. So I don't think they're gonna be able to sustain this for throughout the whole season, but I think they're gonna be a team that's, like I said, they're gonna fight for that 8th or 7th seed. So watch out for Orlando. They're a good young team and they're exciting to watch. The Kings played the Wizards this past weekend in Sacramento. They took a nice little loss, 110-83. The Kings went with a really young group as starters. They started De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, Bogdanovich, Skal Labissiere, and then Willie Cauley-Stein. I was actually really excited to see this young group because Fox has been playing pretty well so far, and so has Big Bogdanovich. And Skal Labissiere, he doesn't really get too much attention because of Fox, but he's been a solid player since last season, and it really didn't work out for them. I think Washington started out on a 13-0 run to start the game, and just the Kings were never really in it. Fox finished with 2 points. He shot 1 for 8. Bogdanovich finished with 15 points. He shot 7 of 9. And John Wall finished the game with 19 points, 9 assists. The Wizards they didn't really need a big game for Wall or Otto Porter. I think they both stayed under 20 points. It was pretty much just a cruise control game. Kings were just fighting back trying to fight back, but the Wizards they handled them pretty well. This is going to be a nice little, nice little development for the Kings, because me personally, I wanted to see Fox start more and over George Hill, but you know what? Maybe he's not ready. Maybe he does need time to develop. So this was a good little stepping stone for them to see where they're at with their rookies and young guys. And even though they really did not do well at all against the Wizards, this is going to be an exciting young group to watch. I'm sure you're going to see the veterans start a lot more because of this game, but I mean, it makes sense because it's just the young guys aren't ready yet. But like I said, wait for them to develop, and we'll see later on in the year. The Knicks beat the Cavs this Sunday. They beat them 114-95. Kristaps Porzingis finished with 32 points and 12 rebounds. Tim Hardaway Jr., 34 points, 8 assists, and LeBron had a not too good of a game. I mean, he almost had a triple-double, 16 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, and we're actually going to talk a little bit more about the Cavs after we go over these scores, but yeah, so we'll get into that in a little bit. The Pistons was probably the biggest shock win of the day. They beat the Warriors 115-107 in Oakland at Oracle, and usually the Warriors are unbeatable there. Avery Bradley finished with 23 points. He was shot 5 of 7 from 3. And Avery Bradley, when he was on the Celtics and they played the Warriors, he always had his best games, and he always did well to limit Stephen Curry. I think Bradley had a big steal late in the game. That's pretty much what sealed it for the Pistons. And the Warriors actually they didn't play a bad game at all, really. Durant scored 28 points. He shot 10 of 14. Stephen Curry scored 27 points, had 8 assists. He shot 11 of 17. And Klay Thompson finished with 29 points, and he shot 12 of 19. I mean, so they all shot well. None of those three had a bad game. It really came down to Draymond Green. He only finished with 2 points, I believe it was, and that bench really did not do anything to help them out. So, I mean, obviously you're not going to worry about the Warriors because it's the Warriors, and they're going to be in the finals at the end of the year, but they're going to have games like this, I guess, where it's just the bench doesn't show up, or one of the top 4 guys, and Draymond, Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, or Klay Thompson just doesn't have a good game. So, I mean, this is just a game where they throw away. Oh, well, they lost. And as for Detroit, they're starting off 5-2. Last year, they weren't really all that good of a defensive team, but I feel like Avery Bradley has them more on their toes, ready to go. He's leading by example. He's always been a solid defender. I believe last year, he didn't get the first team all defense, and the league was pretty confused as to why not, but yeah, this year he's picking up where he left off. Avery Bradley, he's not a star player or anything like that, but he's gonna shoot the ball well for you. I think he should be averaging right now around 20 points a game, and he's shooting the ball really well. So I mean, and his defense, of course, you can't be questioned. It's always really good. So I mean, he's got the Pistons playing really well, and just like I said, he's leading by example. So the Pistons, no one really expected him to be that good of a team, mainly because Andre Drummond, he doesn't play defense all that well, and Reggie Jackson is an off and on player ever since he left OKC, so I think they're going to be an interesting team. The Pacers, Detroit, and Orlando. Those are my teams to watch. I don't expect them to really do much if they make the playoffs, or even I don't even know if they will make the playoffs, but I feel like going forward, those are going to be some exciting teams to watch, and they got a lot going for them so far, so we'll see about that. But now I want to get into the Cavs. The Cavs have looked awful so far this season. Okay, they beat Boston game 1 in the first game, and they won a couple after that, but now I believe they're 3-4, and they're like 10th in the East, and I know it's early. The Cavs, don't worry, I'm not saying that they're not going to make the playoffs or anything like that. They're going to make the playoffs, and odds are they're probably going to end up in the Eastern Conference Finals again, and they're going to have a good chance of making it to the finals. But, I mean, starting out, you really didn't expect to see this coming from them. Usually LeBron's LeBron. He's going to have good games, but, I mean, he's missing. Everyone said that Kyrie would hurt from him not having LeBron, but I think it's turned out to be the other way around. LeBron is hurting from not having Kyrie with him, because since Isaiah Thomas is going to be out till around January, February because of that hip, LeBron really doesn't have that go-to scorer on his team. J.R. Smith is a streaky shooter, but he can't really create his own shot. Kevin Love he can't create his own shot either. He's really just a corner three-point guy or post up, and Jay Crowder, he's an off and on inconsistent type of player. So LeBron doesn't have that one guy where if he needs a guy to just do it on his own and score 25 points a game and all that, he doesn't have that with him right now. And Derrick Rose, when he comes back, he's for sure not going to be that. Derrick Rose is he's a volume scorer. He's just going to get his sometimes, but he's going to have to take a lot of shots when he's doing it. He drives in a lot. He doesn't really have much of a mid-range or three-pointer. So as far as everything goes, yeah, the Cavs, they're hurting, but since they don't have Kyrie anymore, I think that's going to be the biggest problem for them this season. I mean, Isaiah Thomas could come back and he could be the same player, but we're not sure because, like I said, his hip is we're not sure how that's going to be. And the way he plays, he's always moving, shifting, cutting, driving in. He needs to use his legs a lot more to shoot since he's a smaller guy. And that hip is just going to be the biggest thing. If it's not fine, then I don't really... Honestly, if Isaiah Thomas does not come back and he's not the player he was last year, or at least just almost the player he was last year, I don't really like the Cavs' chances getting to the finals, because Boston is a young team right now who's got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown filling in and filling the void for Gordon Hayward since he left. I know Gordon Hayward only played about 6 minutes of a game, but that was going to be a big part for their season. And since he went down, Jason Tatum has been averaging, I think, around 16 points a game, 8 rebounds, and he had his second 20-point game of the season on Saturday against the Heat, and he's shooting around 50% from the field. Jaylen Brown, he started off really well, but he's kind of started to cool down. He's going to be a player that can get to the hole pretty well, but he just has to work on his jump shot, and until then, I feel like he's going to be a good player, but he just needs to get that jump shot going. Excuse me. And the Wizards, they're going to be there near the top, and it's just even the Bucks too, with Giannis breaking out so well so far this season. He's averaging about 35 points a game, and I'm not too high on the Cavs this year for some reason. Either way, I mean, even if they do make the finals, I think this is it for them, and I think that the East is going to belong to, like they said, the Celtics, Wizards, or Bucks next year. And once Philly figures out this Markelle Fultz situation, I think they shut him down finally. So he's not going to be playing till he's fully healthy. And if Fultz comes back and he's healthy and he's doing well, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are already looking like future superstars, and they're playing well. Ben Simmons is almost averaging a triple-double, and Joel Embiid is, when he plays, he's one of the best big men in the league. I know it's a small sample size, but we need to be real here. When Joel Embiid plays, he's a dominant center. He can do everything. He can shoot the three well, and then he's good posting up. And then he can even dribble the ball a little bit. And he's a tall guy, so you don't really see that too much. So we'll see. But like I said, the Cavs, they're not really a team that they just don't impress me right now. And I'm just not too high on them. And as for everything else, actually, I want to talk about the Kings for a little bit. Like I said, they started their young guys, and it didn't work out well at all. But I know I've seen on Twitter, Kings fans they're really down right now because they haven't had a winning season and since 2008 or 2006, I believe, and they really haven't been a top team since they had Chris Webber and all those guys back in 2002. So I know it's a lot of years of losing and whatnot, but Kings fans just need to be patient. Their front office has always been a mess, like constantly the last few years, but it seemed like this year after this draft, they seem like they know what they're doing and they have a plan. I mean, like they got De'Aaron Fox, Justin Jackson, and then Harry Giles is a player who hasn't played yet because they're waiting for him to be fully healthy, but he can come back and do well for them. So I feel like Kings fans just need to stay patient. I know they've been for like the last 15 years or whatnot, waiting to have another top team, but you just got to stay patient, and eventually the Kings are going to be they're going to be an exciting team, and they're just going to be a good team to watch. So I know this year they're probably not going to win many games, but they're just going to have a higher draft pick, and they'll be able to build off of that too. So watch out for the Kings the next few seasons. They just need to develop well this season, and we'll go from there. But that's going to finish it up for this segment. Like I said, Cavs not really impressing me. Kings fans, just give it some time. And yeah, that's going to do it for this segment. We'll be back in a few moments.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Alright, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. To finish off this last segment, we're going to talk some soccer and talk about what games to watch Monday night and for the rest of the week. So let's get into it. So Sunday night, the Vancouver Whitecaps and Seattle Sounders drew 0-0 in Vancouver. And as for today, the New York Red Bulls play Toronto, and Toronto's looking like the favorite to win it all this season with Giovinco and Altidore leading the attack. And then Houston and Portland also play later today, so we'll see how those games go. And as far as the English Premier League goes, on Saturday, Manchester United beat Tottenham 1-0 with Anthony Martial scoring a game winner in the 81st minute, and that was really that was a big game this past weekend because Manchester United and Tottenham were both tied on points at 20, and they're both trying to catch up to Manchester City right now, who I believe has 31 points. Or actually, they have 28 points now. So, yeah, they're both playing catch-up, and Tottenham was without their best striker, Harry Kane, and he's been pretty much one of the best strikers in the world so far this season. Obviously, he's not on Ronaldo or Messi's level or anything like that, but he's been scoring goals like it was no one's business. He's just been on fire so far, and for him to be out, against the game against Manchester, that really hurt Tottenham because I believe they played Heung-min Son, up top, and he's a good player. He's good coming off the bench, but he's just not. He doesn't bring the same attacking skill as Harry Kane. And as far as like the midfield goes, like they have Christian Eriksen, Dele Alli, and all them, but really Harry Kane is that guy that you need to finish it off. So, but also, I mean, you can't really say if Harry Kane would have played that Tottenham would have been able to come out to win because Manchester United probably have the best defense in the league right now, even with all the injuries that they have to like Eric Bailly and Marcos Rojo and all them, because even the guys that are in there, they're still defending well. They don't really give up many goals at all, actually. I think they've given up no more than maybe 5, I think, in the Premier League so far this season. So Manchester United's defense is really what keeps them in, especially since Paul Pogba has been out and Fellaini has been out also, and those are really key parts to their midfield. So Manchester United, I mean, now they're in second place with 23 points, 5 points back at Manchester City. So we'll see how that goes. And Liverpool beat Huddersfield Town 3-0. Daniel Sturridge, Roberto Firmino, and Jorginho Wijnaldum scored goals. And that was a good comeback off of their last Premier League game against Tottenham, where they were beaten 4-1 or 5-1, I believe. Liverpool's problem, I don't understand why their coaches or board never buy defenders. They've always had a problem with defense. Their attackers have always been great. Coutinho's always been doing well for them. Sturridge, he comes off the bench now more, but he always produces when he's not hurt because he's always been an injury-prone type of player. And Roberto Firmino, he's been a solid player ever since he's gotten there too. So if they were to build up the defense, and they'd be contenders for winning the league, but in soccer, you can't win much when your midfield or defense is weak, and their defense is really weak. So I don't really see them putting up much of a fight for the top. Manchester City, they've been dominant all season. They beat West Bromwich Albion 3-2. Leroy Sané and scored. Fernandinho scored, and Raheem Sterling scored. And Manchester City is really, ever since Pep Guardiola finally got the players that he needed this season, and it shows. Manchester City, there's no one on their level right now. They're just, like I said, dominant, just constant winning, constant scoring. Defense is looking better than it has the last few seasons. So, I mean, I think that it's going to be hard to catch up to them, because I don't really see them dropping points anytime soon. Arsenal beat Swansea 2-1. They got a goal from their left back Kolasinac and midfielder Aaron Ramsey. Arsenal they're a weird team, because they're supposed to be a top club with Manchester City, Manchester United, and Chelsea. But sometimes, well, honestly, the last couple of years, they just don't play like it. They play like a mid-level team. They finish really between 4th and 6th. I think they finished 3rd a couple of years ago or last year. But yeah, they're an odd team. We're not sure if Alexis Sanchez is going to stay after this year. Most likely he's not. And the same with Mesut Ozil. We're not sure if he's going to stay, because they have a contract offered up for him, but he hasn't signed it. And there's been rumors linking him to Manchester United, going to Manchester United next season. So we'll see about that. But yeah, Arsenal beat Swansea 2-1. And then Chelsea, they've been a really odd team, because they have good players, but they just haven't looked as dominant as they did last season or even the year before or anything like that. Chelsea should be a team that's really competing with City and Manchester United and Tottenham for that in that top 4, but they haven't really been too convincing. Eden Hazard scored in the 51st minute, which gave them the lead, and they held it out until then. Chelsea really should look into buying a striker once January comes, that transfer window, because when Morata went down with an injury, they had Batshuayi. That's another tongue twister right there, but he came in, and after that, they really had no backup striker. So I feel like they should go out and get a striker who, just in case, like just a emergency type of guy, just in case Morata does go down, because he usually does go down a couple of times a season with injuries. So we'll see how that goes. But as of right now, the top 6 in the English Premier League, it goes Manchester City with 28 points, Manchester United with 23 points, Tottenham with 20 points, Chelsea with 19 points, Arsenal with 19 points in 5th, and then in 6th, it's Liverpool with 16 points. So I feel like the top 4 might, at the end of the season, it'll probably finish with Manchester City, Manchester United, Tottenham, and I'm going to go Arsenal, actually. I think that they will jump Chelsea once the season's over, because Arsenal have started playing well. In the beginning of the season, they were kind of they started off not too hot, but they started to pick it up, and they're winning. I think they've won 13 straight at the Emirates, which is their home stadium, and I think that's one of the best streaks that they've been on at home. So yeah, I like Arsenal to finish 4th, but like I said, it's a long season. These are just way too early predictions, but yeah, we'll see how it goes going forward. As for La Liga, Real Madrid lost 2-1 to Girona, and Madrid really, they've looked, Real Madrid is a team that needs to be at the top, and they need to play well. That's why they buy the players, and the fans expect it, and the board expects it. And so far this season, they have not played well at all. I believe they're 8 points back of Barcelona. Yeah, they're 8 points back of Barcelona right now, and they both played the same amount of matches. And they just, in La Liga, you can't really expect teams like Barcelona to drop points so you could catch up. I mean, last year they did, but it doesn't really happen often. So, I mean, Real Madrid just needs to pick it up, or maybe they're just going to start, since they're down 8 points already, maybe they'll just focus on Champions League going forward, and we'll talk about Champions League actually in a few moments. But, yeah, for the other games, Barcelona beat Athletic Bilbao 2-0. Messi and Paulinho scored, and Luis Suarez is still missing. He's I think scored 1 goal so far in La Liga this season, maybe a couple more, I'm not exactly sure, but either way, he has not been impressive at all this season. I'm not sure, like, Barcelona, yeah, they're leading in the league right now, but they just have not looked like the Barcelona that they have looked like the last few years. It's just, I'm not sure if it's the team's getting old or it's because of Neymar leaving, but they just have not looked well so far this season, and neither is Real Madrid, so let's help Barcelona stay in first. And Atletico Madrid is another team that's hasn't really impressed. They tied 1-1 with Villarreal. Angel Correa scored for Atletico, and then Carlos Baca scored the game. Carlos Baca scored the tying goal at the end, so they finished 1-1, and Atletico is currently in 4th, tied with Real Madrid with 20 points. And honestly, I think this is Barcelona's league to lose this season. Valencia is currently in second with 24 points, and they're only 4 points back of Barca. But with those other teams such as like Valencia, Sevilla, and Villarreal, you can't really expect them to keep going consistently. So we'll see how it all shakes up. But yeah, again, for a way too early prediction, I feel Barcelona is going to finish and win the league. So let's get into some Champions League right now. A couple of good games to watch this week are Madrid. They're heading to Wembley Stadium to face off with Tottenham. The last game, Tottenham surprised probably the world actually, because Real Madrid, like I said, is just one of those top teams with the best players and the best coaches, and Tottenham held their own. It was back and forth game. They finished 1-1, I believe, and Madrid scored off of a penalty, so Tottenham did really well that last game to hold them and just pretty much come away with a point. And now Tottenham and Madrid are tied with 8 points apiece at the top of the group. I believe Tottenham is in first because of goal differential. So, yeah, Tottenham haven't really played too well at Wembley so far this season. I'm not sure what it is, if it's just Wembley is just too big of a stage for them to play on or whatnot. But, yeah, it'll be an interesting game to see because I believe Bale and Isco are not playing this week. And yeah, Bale, Isco, and Keylor Navas are out. And yeah, Isco is doubtful. So with those three, you could see Tottenham come away with a win possibly, or even points. I mean, points, all they need is points. They just need to come out with one win to be sure that they're going to advance into the round of 16. But yeah, so just Tottenham just needs to figure out their Wembley woes, and the defense just needs to play how they've been, and then hopefully Harry Kane plays for them, because if he doesn't, then I don't really see them winning. But if he does, then they have a chance to win, and I'm pretty sure that they'll have a good chance to come away with points. Another game that I'm looking forward to is Chelsea and Roma. Last game they played, it was 3-3. And that group is pretty interesting to me because Chelsea, Roma, and Atletico, they're all solid teams, but Atletico has been struggling in Champions League so far, and even in La Liga, like I was saying earlier. So we're not really sure how they're going to do, or even if they'll make the group. Usually they're always in the semifinal or in the final the last few years, so we'll see. I think I like Chelsea in that one, mainly because I think Morata's back, and I feel like it'll be a close game, a really exciting game. I'm going to go Chelsea 2-1. Yeah, 2-1. But like I said, we'll see. So that's going to be it for soccer talk right now. And let's get into, I want to talk a little bit about games to watch this week. There's going to be a lot of good games. Like Monday night, we got the Spurs at Celtics and LaMarcus Aldridge. Last season, we weren't sure, last season it was talked about that he was requesting a trade and it never worked out or whatnot. But now this season, LaMarcus Aldridge is averaging 25 points per game, and he's looking like the LaMarcus Aldridge that they signed a few years ago. Well, that they were expecting to have a few years ago. LaMarcus Aldridge has been pretty disappointing so far for the Spurs, but he's picked it up so far. And Greg Popovich, even with Kawhi Leonard out, he's having those guys play really well. And Kyrie Irving is starting to pick up his game a little bit. He's starting to get a little bit more comfortable in Brad Stevens' system. And Al Horford, he's been lights out so far this season. He's averaging around 8.8 rebounds, and he's not really known for the Celtics to be a good rebounder, but he's really picked it up so far this season. And another game I'm looking forward to is Warriors and Clippers. The Clippers, ever since, they haven't had Chris Paul, obviously, since he left to Houston, and Blake Griffin has really picked up the slack for them. And he's done well. He's a sleeper MVP candidate, I think. DeAndre Jordan is doing well. Patrick Beverley, they're all doing their jobs. The Clippers aren't trying to do too much. They all know what they're good at, so they're not trying to do too much. And I feel like that's their biggest thing right now. I think the Warriors are going to pull it out. Or actually, I'm going to go... I'm going to go Warriors. I don't expect them to lose back-to-back games since they lost to Detroit Sunday night. So, yeah, I like the Warriors in this one, but I feel like it's going to be a good game. And I feel like the NBA fans and coaches all around, they're finally going to notice the Clippers, because the Clippers, I think they're going to be either a 5th or 6th seed this season. They're going to compete with Minnesota for that. So, yeah, look out for the Clippers this season. And as for Tuesday, Champions League is that day. We got Manchester United versus Benfica. I like Manchester United in that one. They won the last game 1-0. And Manchester United's defense has really looked well so far this season. And then we got Game 6 of the World Series, and I know we're all excited about that one. This has been one of the best World Series in a long time, probably one of the best ever, just because hitters have been hitting the ball out the park constantly. And I know it's not fun for the pitchers, but it's good for the ratings and it's good for fans. So in that one, I like I talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, but again, I like Houston in that one just because they got Verlander going, and Verlander has been lights out. But it's baseball, so I mean, baseball is really something you can't really predict. You can just try and hope, but baseball is a weird game. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, Verlander could be going 8 shutout innings up 3-0, and the next thing you know, closer comes in, and boom, Dodgers can tie it up in the 9th and then end up winning it in extras. You never know. Baseball is a very unpredictable game, but it's gonna be a fun game to watch. So, yeah, those are my games to watch this season, or this week actually, and we'll go from there. Thanks for listening to the show. Again, this is the GSMC Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Tapia, and we'll talk to you next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.